When government action changes incentives, behavior of individuals invariably follows suit. The other day, I made a video about proposed student debt forgiveness and how this would be a moral hazard, as it would negatively affect those who were responsibly paying off their debt or those who learned a trade, something that would be functional in the world and opted not to go to college. That this would put the onus of somebody else's debt on their shoulders. And then what it would turn into is cash raining down on the people who decided to go and get worthless degrees like a gender studies degree from Brandeis University that can't possibly use that to contribute to the betterment of society. Rather, instead it prepared them to be a blue-haired barista at Starbucks, or even more likely, unemployed, living in their mother's basement. Now, with the federal government guaranteeing student loans and making them so readily available to anybody who possibly applies, tuition prices naturally have been jacked up due to the artificially demand spurred by the government and the ease of money associated with going to college. Knowing that the loans were guaranteed and backed by the feds, the students could go to school what was essentially a 4-year vacation. The institutions instead decided to compete with one another, not necessarily raising the quality of education, but knowing that students would be going there who weren't necessarily interested in learning a vocation, learning a specific skill. They want to make them as comfortable as possible because that's what's going to get more dollars. So they invest in recreation centers, in spruced up dormitories, even groundscaping on the school to make it more palatable to the site rather than functional in terms of what the degree that somebody is going to attain out of it. Of course, they're willing to let the students choose to major in gender studies or something absolutely worthless because they are the ones ultimately who are going to bear the price of what they choose to study. The prices naturally rise because there's an inflow of dollars, there's an inflow of students, and there's a lot of easy money. The universities are making buku off of this. There's nobody that's going to not pay them because it's guaranteed, once again, by the federal government. This is what happens when the federal government gets involved in the free market and alters the incentives. And theoretically, the incoming Biden administration has proposed relieving student debt that they've taken on, leading to a very interesting note that I received from one of the viewers of the video. A mother of a student described her own strategy to maximize her benefit in what makes perfect game theoretical sense. She writes, "My debt-free daughter, who is a college senior, will be taking out a student loan, so she will be included in this crazy loan forgiveness. She will use the money for a down payment on the house when she graduates." As I interpret what was written, the family has helped their daughter save for college. She's in her last year. Now that debt relief is on the horizon, why would they take the tuition out of their pocket when they can take out a student loan that has a high chance of having the debt wiped off of the books? They can then use that money for other purposes. As they said, a down payment for a house. Maybe for other people, it's a boat, a trip around the world, even a very pricey trip to a Las Vegas casino. When somebody else is paying for your tuition, this becomes a greater option for you, a far superior one. Because if the loan is forgiven, the minimal amount of interest that they'll pay out when they have the funds already available and they can pay it off, the loan back in full at any time if they so choose, there's very low downside compared to the likely upside of having the entire debt gone, erased. See you later. From a game theoretical standpoint, what this woman is proposing makes perfect cognitive sense. Once again, you are using other people's money to incentivize different behaviors. By announcing debt relief, you are creating a change in the spending habits of those who are going to college. This is the problem with government. They are altering the incentives and thus changing how people allocate their own funds. It leads to lower savings rates, less personal responsibility, less self-reliance, because the government will always be there to bail you out, to fund whatever little pet project you have. And they will likely be more and more demanded in the future as people grow accustomed to the government providing for them. This makes us less competitive as a nation. This lowers the economic investment, because why save, why put that money aside that can be used to fund research or to start companies when you can just spend it on something that's readily available and fulfill your immediate desires rather than saving for the future. This is a readily foreseen event stemming from government interference with college education. This is why I generally believe that government should stay out of the free market as much as possible, out of people's affairs, because all they generally do in most cases is just muck everything up. They have very long-armed levers with policies, with the money at their disposal, and it changes the behavior of the independent citizens in many, many ways, and as I stated, not usually for the better. As Education Secretary, the current one, Betsy DeVos, stated, is education better today than it was 20 or 30 years ago? If not, why? And there's overwhelming evidence that it's government interference that has raised the prices of education drastically while lowering its quality at the same time. Please see the aforementioned gender studies participants as your immediate reference point. If you guys like this video, thumb it up, share it, subscribe, notification bell, hit all notifications, otherwise YouTube ain't notifying you. And most of all, have a fantastic day and take this into account next time you think and you want government to act for you. Peace out.